How many years in prison would every villain from Shaggy and Scooby-Doo get a clue get for their crimes? In the series premiere, Shags to Riches, Dr. Phibes is introduced as the ruthless villain of the series, zapping Agent 3 with his laser gun, before scaring Shaggy into giving over the secret recipe for hot dog tacos. But every bad businessman has a horde of lackeys to help, and Agents 1 and 2 are the most trusted ones, for some reason. They break into Shaggy's new mansion to find the recipe, shooting their lasers all over the place. They chase them down into the laboratory, where Shaggy and Scooby are hiding after using the shrink ray. They try to squish the shrunken Shag and Scoob, eventually capturing them and taking them onto Dr. Phibes' submarine, finishing off the job by throwing them into a locked room. Dr. Phibes only gets 5 years here, while Agents 1 and 2 will be spending life in prison, plus 42.5 years inside of this whale shark prison. In more fondue for Scooby-Doo, Dr. Phibes tasks Misty Swiss to take care of Shaggy and Scooby, who have found themselves on a secret mission in Switzerland. She nearly slices them with her machete, but in the end resorts to just switching the signs on the slopes to send them off the cliff. It ain't much, but it is enough to get her 23 years inside of a Swiss prison. Meanwhile, Dr. Phibes is seeing that Misty isn't quite living up to her reputation, and decides to use his laser to speed up the process and take out the boys. But when that doesn't work, someone's gotta pay the price, as Agents 5, 6, and Doug are dropped from the ship. This will land him another 4 life sentences, plus 3 years to add to his total. In High Society Scooby, Agents 1 and 2 are tasked with kidnapping 3 scientists from an award ceremony at a country club. They do sneak into the venue, only to completely blow their cover by kicking Shaggy and Scooby into the food table, while also trying to shoot them with a laser gun. When that doesn't work, they just kidnap them and keep them tied up inside of an ice cream truck ready to explode, giving them enough time to net the nerds and take them away, only being stopped by a meddling and magnetized dog. Both agents add another 64.5 years in prison to their running totals. Oh, and Phibes has a lion chained up for some reason. In Party Arty, Mr. Phibes sends the boys Art the Robot to help them with their party, but actually tries to get them killed with the various gadgets. Art's got lasers, fire, and swords, attacking Shaggy, Scooby, and Mr. H. In the final chase, Art trashes the place, before winding up down in the lab and in the shrink ray. They do say the dynamite comes in small packages though, as Art cuts through Shaggy's cargo shorts and tries to toast the trio once more. As the leader, Phibes is getting 3 more life sentences, plus 34 years in prison. In Smart House, Dr. Phibes creates a dangerous new artificial intelligence computer virus to take over Shaggy's house. Okay, he didn't actually make it. These D&D guys did. But once it's uploaded to the system, it attacks Shaggy and Scooby by taking over the defense system and shooting lasers at them. When a new personal chef enters the picture, it's much of the same. The creators of the virus get the tables turned on them when the possessed vacuum ties them up, but the day is saved with a miniature Scooby antivirus. For Phibes' little stunt, let's add 17 more years to the tally. In Lightning Strikes Twice, Dr. Phibes plans to change the weather pattern of Earth in a shocking way. But while delivering his evil plan to his 10 employees, even the mention of the word lightning brings up bad memories. Of course, everyone knows that the best way to deal with your trauma is to angrily fire lasers at people. Later on, when Agent 2 alerts him of alien lifeforms in the area, Phibes just straight up headbutts him into oblivion. Pretty quick way to earn 41 years in prison, but sure. In Don't Feed the Animals, a couple of Australian poachers kidnap Dr. Minky and his marmosets for Dr. Phibes. And when Shaggy and Scooby arrive to ruin the plan, they throw a hunting knife at them before just capturing them to bring back to Phibes. 24 years for the poachers. Speaking of Phibes, he's got at least 13 animals caged up here, plus Dr. Minky. He uses lasers to try and zap one of the marmosets, nearly taking out 2 coders in the way, but clearly not learning his lesson by the end, as a superpowered marmoset reflects the lasers back at him, cementing his 56 years in jungle jail. In Mystery of the Missing Mystery Solvers, Dr. Phibes hosts the Mystery Solvers of the Millennium Banquet, where the world's best mystery solvers, along with Shaggy and Scooby, are. But when each of them disappear one by one, it's up to a Chad, a boy, and his dog to save the night. They need saving from a night. Who tries to turn Scooby's head into a convertible, before going for a collateral with both of the boys. They chase after Shaggy, Scooby, and Chad Chaddington, who ends up falling in the pit. Whilst looking for clues, the boys find the tied up sleuths, and unmask the event host as Dr. Phibes. who immediately tries to eliminate them with lasers. But no problem though. We'll take them on a tour of the Pit of Peril, and they'll all be taken care of, where Fibes can stay for another 3 life sentences and 74 years to think about his actions. In Chefs of Steel, Dr. Fibes sends Shaggy and Scooby to a live showing of their favorite show, Chefs of Steel, where he's already got Chef Tsukihari waiting to hypnotize everyone in attendance with the smells of hibachi. Before that though, Fibes shoots Agent 5 with a laser for good measure. At the competition, Tsukihari uses these chopstick spears to pin the boys to the grill, only being stopped by a supersonic Scooby. Tsukihari's terrible teppanyaki trouble results in 7 years, whereas Fibes adds just 4 years more. In Almost Ghosts, Agents 1 and 2 are back up to their typical hijinks, going invisible to infiltrate this military compound and steal a disintegration ray. Once they find what they think to be the weapons, they use it on the general, who instead catches a frozen chicken to the chest. And they get into a scrap with the entire mystery gang before firing another chicken at Scooby. They do manage to escape, but I'm keeping the tab running, and we're looking at another 14.5 years for their stunts here. In Pull to Pull, Agents 1 and 2 enter the Polar Bear 3000 race to deliver a special EMP device, which would shut down the world's electronics. In order to stop them, Shaggy and Scooby have to trade in their sim racing gloves for real ones, and also dodge a couple of missile attacks in the process. Agents 1 and 2 fail to finish the race, but the worst part will be that extra couple life sentences, plus 7 years in a Greenland prison. In Big Trouble, Dr. Fibes creates his very own mech suit out in the desert, but a wrench does get thrown in his plan for world domination when Shaggy and Scooby hijack his robot. With his remote control, he extracts the pair and flings them aside, before trying to stomp on them. After a quick chase, Fibes turns to trying to crush his own agents for some reason, before Mecha Scooby comes to save the day, as the pair have a kaiju mech battle, which does result in the Hoover Dam being blown up, washing away any chance Fibes had to win. So all he walks away with is another 238.5 years behind bars. In Operation Dog and Hippie Boy, Dr. Fibes recruits a few more villains to help with his latest scheme, first of which being this deranged bodybuilder named Menace, who crashes into the boys, ripping Shaggy out of the car in the process. And when Scooby goes to save him, he immediately gets caught as well. Oh, Scooby's secret power in this episode is transforming into people. Just don't worry about it. Menace gets thrown onto the mystery machine, hopping in the driver's seat to continue the rampage. Shaggy eventually sends Menace to the moon prison, where he'll have 16 years and 90 days to work out some more. But everyone knows that moon years go by super quick. So when he's back in the mix, he quite literally breaks into the mansion, chasing them down into the lab, where he slaps them up like an old Key and Peele sketch. Scooby's powerful burp shoots him back to the moon, where he's staying for good, or at least 30 years total. Mr. Invisible Man is here for like a minute, but he does break into the boys' place and holds them up with a laser, earning not just 7 years in prison, but also $1,001,001. So, a productive minute, all things considered. Finally, the cat lady also claws her way inside, chasing the boys around the property, using her hairball launchers to attack them, before her Spider-Man-esque urine shooters tie them up. But, as we all know, the biggest threat to a cat lady is a bath, so she's quickly vanquished. But she did rack up enough charges to get 21 years in a Hello Kitty jail. Ooh, how cute. Alright, is that everyone? Oh, Agent 2? I don't know, trespassing? Dude, just go home. Alright, thank you. Oh, okay. Fibes sent him down the pit of despair. 1 year. In Shaggy and Scooby World, Dr. Fibes sends Agents 1 and 2 to the boys' new theme park to place these transmitters on all the rides, which sends them all into hyperspeed. Typically, I would go frame by frame to count up every single person, but I genuinely couldn't be asked here. The goofball agents also chase the boys through the park, grab Scooby's tail, and use some luscious locks to hold Shaggy down. But the only locks they'll be seeing are the ones on the jail cell, for 27.5 more years. Fibes isn't safe either, since he's also on the hook for the criminal negligence, and wildly shooting his laser gun in the big commotion. Oh, and Agent 7 eats Agent 9. So. In Almost Perfect, Dr. Fibes breaks into the boys' mansion to steal the nanotech device from the lab. Of course, he needs a good disguise though. He still has the cat powers from the last episode, which is perfect because Shaggy loves cats. Fibes scratches him up pretty good, but I mean, look at those eyes. How could you ever stay mad at the little guy? Well, once he transforms back into human form, he tackles Shaggy and steals the nanotech, getting into a quick catfight with Scooby and running off. So yeah, it's actually kinda easy to stay mad. 14 more years for Catboy Fibes. In Inside Job, Dr. Fibes eats a bunch of the nanobot technology to become a Fabio regen, whipping his hair back and forth enough to smack Dr. Trebla. It's also apparently bulletproof, as shown when Agent 3 shoots a laser, which deflects into the ceiling fan, dropping onto Agent 7 and 9. So, probably manslaughter? Fibes isn't done yet though, as he invites the prettiest people in the world over, the Nifties, and ushers them into the rocket to shoot at the sun. He says that they're octuplets, but I count 9 here, so who knows. Either way, he's getting 28 more years in the prison for pretty people. So, rehab. In Zoinks Man, Dr. Fibes and his agents plan to blow up a supervolcano, which would cause the extinction of all life on Earth. That would include, himself too, but we'll let him figure that one out. When Shaggy and Scooby intervene, Scooby is captured and held over the lava pit, only being saved when Shaggy and his mech suit drive the villains away. They can run, but they can't escape this extra life sentence and 6 more years. In The Many Faces of Evil, Dr. Fibes creates his very own clone army to try and take down Shaggy and Scooby. Now, they are clones, but they're all part of Fibes, so he's getting all the time for the crimes. Pirate Fibes launches cannonballs at Shaggy and Scooby, while Clown Fibes throws some really bomb pies at them. We even get some Fibes on Fibes crime, as the main one tries to shoot 2 of the fakes with some very real lasers. But we're nowhere near done, as Kung Fu Fibes scares 14 people out of the museum, while also destroying some of the exhibits. Clown Fibes is back at the golf course with more ammo, scaring 12 people off the green, which is about par for the course. Shaggy and Scooby stop Klepto Fibes from stealing medals from Fort Knox, returning home to find every Fibes variant already waiting for them, with all 8 chasing them around the house. Fibes might come to regret the cloning device, but maybe he can create one to serve as 5 life sentences and 105.5 years in jail. In Cruisin' for a Bruisin', Dr. Fibes and his 2 best agents join Shaggy and Scooby on a Mexican cruise, where Agents 1 and 2 are tasked with getting rid of Fibes' little problems. They untie the boys while they're paragliding, but when they land back safely, just open the hatch below to let water in to try and sink the whole ship. And the average cruise ship holds about 3,000 people, so there we go. Big numbers. Fibes isn't safe either, as he tries to laser Agent 2 for being annoying, knocks a crab off his face, kicks Agent 2 for being annoying, and absolutely trashes his room. He's getting just 1 life sentence, plus 7 more years, while the pair of agents get 3,000 life sentences and 8 years. Ouch. In There's a Doctor in the House, Evil Fibes kicks the, lesser evil Dr. Fibes out of his lair, and activates the Doomsday device to destroy the entire universe. When the boys and Fibes team up to stop him, Agents 1 and 2 fail to intercept them, so Evil Fibes hits the ultimate collateral with his handy net, tying them all up. A super stretchy Scooby grabs them and saves the day. But it's no stretch to say that Evil Fibes is getting 8 billion and 1 life sentences, and another 19 years. In Super Scary Movie Night, Dr. Fibes has 2 of his engineers create a monstrous virus that pops out of TVs, which he sends straight to his arch-nemeses. These monsters are technically trespassing, and begin chasing the boys around the mansion, picking them up and shaking them down a few times. Not that Fibes is having a better time, as his lair is overrun with the fiends as well, chasing him and his squad as well. 15.5 years for the monsters. Agents 1 and 2 are sent to clean up the mess, and to also take back the disc. So they break into the estate and try to zap the boys in the process. But the only process they need to worry about is due process, as they add another life sentence, and 12 more years to their totals. In Runaway Roby, who would have guessed that Roby runs away? And is taken by Agents 1 and 2 back to Dr. Fibes' lair, where Fibes plans to extract all of his memory about Albert Shackelford. Too bad that Shaggy and Scooby saved the day again. Oh, can't forget Sparky too. And switch Agent 2 and Fibes' bodies, leading to Fibes tackling himself, but also Agent 2. I don't really know how this one would hold up in court. Well, good thing I am the court. 3 years apiece for the agents, while Fibes gets another year. And don't get a big head. Dr. Fibes' latest plan to take over the world involves releasing a gas into the atmosphere that makes everybody stupider. So, whatever Kanye West was huffing. His agents blast a pizza delivery person, which they must have learned from the boss, since he also uses his lasers on Shaggy and Scooby, before falling victim to his noxious fumes, leaving him with less brain cells than years in prison, which is another life sentence and 3 more years. In Scooby-Doods, our favorite pair of agents release a Super Bowl at the rodeo, which knocks 3 people out before coming head-to-head with Shaggy, chasing him and Scooby around the event. If one was bad enough, how about a whole stampede, which continues that chase through the tunnels. These cowboys are headed straight for Texas State Prison for the next 24 years. In Zoinks the Wonder Dog, Dr. Five sends robot imposters of Shaggy and Scooby's oldest friends, Zoinks and Groovy Dawn. He immediately tries to laser Scooby, but when that fails, waits until the boys are no longer friends to enact his attack. He starts by having Zoinks try and zap Shaggy, just barely missing, instead taking out a palm tree. Groovy Dawn isn't faring much better, who misses Scooby with his own attacks. Fibes is still controlling them, so maybe just get better? Maybe they'll have aim trainers in jail. I'll give him the rest of his life and 12 more years to work on that one. In the series finale, Uncle Albert alert. Fibes knows that there's a mole among his ranks, so he tries everything he can to weed them out. He has agents 1 and 2 follow Shaggy and Scooby around, who try to shoot them with their laser guns, instead accidentally waking up 16 sleeping agents. They'll receive a life sentence plus 91 years. Meanwhile, Fibes interrogates his other agents, starting with Agent 21, who he sends down the chute and we never hear from again. When Shaggy and Scooby start their final plan, he locks them in and shares a real touching moment with Uncle Albert. With everything lost, he activates the self-destruct mechanism for the lair, which has, by my count, 462 agents, plus the 2 engineers, Shaggy and Albert. And Fibes adds 467 life sentences and 4 more years onto his final total. Speaking of that final total, let's count up the totals for Agent 1, Agent 2, and Fibes, shall we? Over the course of the 26 episodes, our 2 agents will be getting 3,007 life sentences, plus an even 300 years for their crimes. But that's nothing compared to Fibes' 486 life sentences and 703 years added on.
Objection!
Your Honor, it's come to my attention that if you attributed all of the crimes committed by Fibes' clones to Fibes himself, Evil Fibes' crimes should also be taken into account for his totals. I mean, seems like a little overkill, but also makes for a really funny outcome, so I'll allow it. If we include Evil Fibes' crime spree, I now sentence Dr. Phineas Fibes to 8,487 life sentences, plus 722 years, which puts him in the upper echelons of Scooby's most evil villains. So, who do you think is more evil? Dr. Fibes or Professor Pericles? It's actually a lot closer than I would have thought. Either way, thank you very much for making it through yet another one of these legal analysis videos. We're in the home stretch now, just a few more of these to go. If you do want to see the next one ahead of time, you can join the great group that we have over on the Patreon. The extra support over there means so much to me, and I really appreciate all these fine people. As always, thank you for watching. And, bye!